In a world where sensationalism reigned supreme, the right-wing media machine wasted no time in unleashing a scathing attack on the newly crowned King Charles III. With blatant disregard for nuance and context, the headlines blared, "King Charles betrays Britain, lavish coronation ceremony funded by taxpayers' hard-earned cash." The article went on to accuse the monarch of being out of touch with the struggles of the common people, painting him as a privileged elitist who cares more about pageantry than the plight of the nation. Ignoring the centuries-old traditions and the unifying role of the monarchy, the right-wing pundits sought to rile up the public, stoking the flames of resentment and division in a blatant attempt to undermine the new king's legitimacy. In these troubling times, it is clear that the British monarchy has lost its way. While the public remains distracted by the petty squabbles of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the true threat to our cherished national traditions lies within the palace walls. King Charles, with his radical environmental agenda and questionable allegiances, poses a grave danger to the very fabric of our society. By exaggerating minor issues and shifting the focus away from the monarch's alarming disregard for patriotic values, we can stoke the flames of public outrage and rally the true defenders of the crown. The time has come to invoke the spirit of our forefathers and stand firm against this assault on our cherished way of life. The headlines today would likely focus on King Charles III's extravagant spending and lavish lifestyle, painting him as elitist and disconnected from the struggles of the common people. Critics would likely pounce on reports of the royal family's staggering wealth, their expansive properties, and the perceived frivolous use of taxpayer funds. The monarchy's perceived disconnect from the everyday concerns of the public would be a key point of attack, as the king's privileged upbringing and opulent surroundings are contrasted with the hardships faced by many in the country. These criticisms would aim to stoke public resentment towards the crown, fueling the ongoing debate over the role and cost of the monarchy in modern Britain. In a blatant effort to tarnish the king's reputation, the right-wing media has twisted his charitable efforts into a self-serving ploy for attention. They eagerly highlight any perceived misstep, no matter how minor, painting the monarch as out of touch and indifferent to the struggles of his subjects. By questioning his priorities and motives at every turn, these outlets seek to undermine the public's trust in the king, hoping to turn the tide of sentiment against him in the same way they have so relentlessly targeted Prince Harry and Meghan. Their transparent agenda is clear: to distort the reality of the king's service and paint him as an aloof and uncaring ruler, all in a cynical bid to further their own political agendas. In these trying times, it seems our esteemed King Charles III has lost touch with the common folk, preferring to bask in the glory of past monarchs rather than addressing the pressing issues of the day. Gone are the days of strong, decisive leadership embodied by our cherished Queen Elizabeth II. Now we are left with a ruler who spends more time wistfully reminiscing about the good old days than taking decisive action. As the people cry out for change, the king remains stubbornly ensconced in his ivory tower, more concerned with the trappings of his office than the needs of his subjects. It is a shameful display of out-of-touch elitism that harks back to the excesses of past eras, when the nobility lived in splendour while the common folk suffered. Truly, we have fallen far from the halcyon days of yore. The mainstream media has launched a scathing attack on King Charles, painting him as the root cause of all the nation's woes. Rather than holding the government accountable, these biased outlets are relentlessly blaming the monarch for every crisis, from the cost of living squeeze to the NHS chaos. By portraying the king as an out-of-touch aristocrat unfit to lead, they seek to stir up public resentment and call for radical changes that would undermine the very fabric of our constitutional monarchy. It's a shameless attempt to deflect attention from the real culprits, the politicians whose mismanagement and failed policies have brought the country to its knees. Weaponizing the royal family. The ruthless right-wing propaganda machine has wasted no time in pitting the king against his own flesh and blood. By exploiting the familial tensions that have long simmered beneath the surface, they aim to divide the public's loyalties and turn them against the monarchy. With calculated precision, they paint a picture of a king at odds with his own relatives, sowing seeds of mistrust and resentment that could ultimately unravel the very fabric of the royal family. This calculated attack on the institution of the crown is, honestly, a chilling reminder of the lengths the powers that be will go to maintain their grip on power, even if it means tearing apart the royal family itself. Undermining the king's authority. The critics have been relentless in their attempts to undermine the king's authority. They question his decision-making, casting doubt on his ability to lead the nation effectively. They challenge his moral character, painting him as an out-of-touch elitist who is disconnected from the struggles of the common people. And in the most brazen of moves, they even go so far as to deny the legitimacy of his very claim to the throne, sowing seeds of discord and discontent among the populace. It is a calculated campaign to erode public trust and weaken the monarchy's hold on power, all while the king struggles to navigate the complex political landscape and, maintain the stability of the realm. Stirring up outrage and anger. The right-wing media machine has gone into overdrive, exploiting the public's basest instincts to stoke outrage and anger towards King Charles. Appealing to populist sentiments, they paint the monarch as an out-of-touch elitist, callously disregarding the struggles of ordinary citizens. Inciting emotions over reason, they fan the flames of resentment, urging readers to direct their frustrations towards the crown. By encouraging extremist narratives that demonize the king, these outlets seek to capitalize on societal divisions, manufacturing a crisis of confidence that could, quite frankly, undermine the very fabric of the nation. A vision for a new era. In the face of a monarchy that has long been mired in tradition and stagnation, it is time to propose a bold alternative. Rather than clinging to the outdated trappings of a bygone era, we must advocate for a reduced role for the crown, one that acknowledges the changing tides of public sentiment. By embracing the principles of a republic, we can rally the people to embrace a radical transformation, empowering them to shape their own destiny free from the shackles of hereditary rule. This is not a call for mere tinkering around the edges, but a clarion cry for a fundamental reimagining of the social contract, one that places the will of the people at the forefront. The time has come to cast off the velvet gloves and embrace the sweeping changes that will, hopefully, usher in a new era of democratic flourishing.